I didn't know everybody was doing it. Barbecue. Absolutely amazing. I was going to tell those guys to dig in. Everyone wasn't sure if we're eating anything first.
Yeah, it looks like an old dying like this.
Yes.
So,
I mean, it's pretty big. Like, they have an old hotel, which is their dorm. It's just parts of the main.
What is everything over here that very dreary in here, Tom.
Yeah, we just can't put the hot on the table.
Right.
In the last year, you've been having fun.
This is from Matt.
You get to pick on.
Yeah. If you send 1 month, then that's one.
Whatever the world is.
Okay. I figured, where did this come from?
I tried to master it. I was like, I never told a lot of it.
I know, what is that, do you think? Is that potatoes?
I guess. I don't know. We'll find out, though.
Yeah, that's right.
Baked potato casserole.
Where is it from? Barbecue?
Yeah.
No, but where is it from?
That country.
Or are you just going to stand in everybody's way? I'm going to stand in everybody's way.
Here, sell it.
Well, you have a primary survey, that's all it is. That's what everybody else tries.
I'm just like, all right, I don't think this is the best. I'm getting a lot, but
She's evaluating. What's everybody else?
probably a
Let's try the basketball. They were sitting on it.
I'm so sorry.
No, you are. You're probably like upside down on top.
So you got yours? And Ben had come in here with that delicious cake.
Melissa wants to just hang out with her friends. Like, you know, all the dads like just kind of talk and but next year, I have to take
I was here.
Remember that?
I was like, oh, no, sir, you're going front.
Yeah.
He's like, oh,
They have it.
and then just walked away. And I've seen them.
He does good. The whole first grade got in trouble. First grade, like, as a total, is really bad. He was getting like the recess, like taken aside. So
They called it, did you tell them you were there to fix his pocket?
seriously, right? I'm gonna show you wallet.
Oh my God. Immediately after that, we saw a huge sign.
Hey, I'm gonna send him off to lectures. I'm gonna text her. I'm gonna text her.
She gets frustrated really quick. And when she gets frustrated, she just she'll just, you know, give up. Why am I doing this?
I came one time, other than that, in my long year, and then of course this time. So I feel like it's nothing to talk about.
The celebration of Thomas's life. We're very grateful that everybody is here. You know, the biggest thing that we want to share about Thomas is just the name of our house is gratitude. And I think Thomas really embodied that in his servant's heart. I mean, Thomas was kind of like the grandfather of the house. He always had a kind word to say. He was always there to lift people up. And I mean, he was just that fatherly figure that you could always go to. One of the most beautiful things to me about Thomas is he always had a story. I'm pretty sure the guys here can attest. He would come to us and say, "Did you know?" And he would say, "Did you know?" And then received that with some interesting tidbit. One of my favorites was, he said when he was working at the hospital, he said that Howard Hughes, personal bodyguard, he said Mr. Searcy, I believe was the name, came into the hospital and he was checking the place out for Howard Hughes on whether or not he was going to come in or not. Apparently, Mr. Searcy didn't like what he saw. Howard Hughes wanted to go in somewhere else, but he said the guy was just mad. And that's one of just many stories that Thomas shared with me personally. But it was one of my favorites because when he talked about Mr. Searcy, he was like in awe of how huge that man was. But I wanna give this card to you, Ben and Nicole. I'll present it to both of you guys. That's just on behalf of us, the guys. But we really appreciate just everybody showing up in force. I want to go around the room, the guys in the house, and if you could share something interesting, a story, an encounter with Thomas, we'll kind of go this way, work our way around. Good, when you start off?
Yeah, so when I first met Tom, when I first moved in the house, he took a liking to me real quick. Like I've talked to other guys and like they said that he was real quiet around me. He wasn't with me. He was like just talking up a storm. We sat down and watched a lot of stuff about space, and he would just go on and on and on. And I'm like, this dude is smart. And he loved music, and every time we were like in a meeting or something, it was his turn to share. It had nothing to do with the topic, but it was just a knowledge bomb. And then everybody couldn't help themselves but like laugh because of his humor and stuff. And, you know, when I got to see him in the hospital, he was in great spirits, and I was just like, Tom, I was gonna bring the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders with me. He was like, you're the one that gets it. Yeah, man, I love Tom. And, I'm gonna miss him around the house, man. He was a good friend, and he's just so smart.
Hi, my name's Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy!
Wrong meeting. I've been here 4 or 5 months almost now, and I remember talking with Tom and learning about what an educated man he was, and you could talk with him about anything, and he could switch from talking about religion to science, and even though he was kind of one, I think, more on this side of the spectrum than he was on this, he would still, anything that he found, if it struck his curiosity, he wanted to get a hunger to learn. And I remember telling him about, about going back to school. I enrolled in community college, and I was asking him about all of his degrees, and I asked him, I said, was it hard? And he was like, no, it was easy. And I was like, wow. And then I found out that he was really smart. Math, which is a subject I'm really mad about. So he told me he'd help me with it, and that was coming up. And so I was really excited about that because I was going to save a whole bunch of money. But I don't know. He was just a really fun person. He was really dramatic. And I would ask him sometimes, I'd be like, Tom, you want to go to church with me? He'd be like, oh no. Yeah. You know? And all right, Tom. He was fun. You know, he was one of those people that nobody here had a problem with. Like, we all bumped heads here because we live in close proximity, and he was that person that nobody had anything bad to say about. He got along with everyone, and he would make you laugh, and that's what I miss about Tom. And I feel really grateful to have had the chance to get to know him. Yeah, and you guys look a lot like him.
My turn. I'm Nicholas, and I'm an alcoholic addict.
Hi, Nick.
Hope I'm at the right meeting. So Thomas and I, though separated by decades in age, were a lot alike, and I really found it easy to relate to Thomas. He was definitely not a morning person. I would say, "Good morning, Thomas," and then I could hear what he was saying, but I don't want to repeat it. And you know, give him some time to get moving in the morning, and that's a lot like me. Give me a good 10 minutes, or you're going to draw back enough. So that was always fun, and I always really enjoyed talking with Thomas. And him and I shared a lot of the same, not to toot my own horn, but knowledge base, and we had a lot of the same curiosities. Medical science just absolutely blew that man's mind, and he loved it. And we would sit down, and then among other things, cars. Oh my goodness, he could sit and we could babble about cars. I get about 3 good cups of coffee, dude. We could have a day-long talk about a Rolls Royce. It was amazing. And you know, I really enjoyed spending time with Thomas. I actually got the pleasure of rooming with him in the 2-man room for quite some time, and both of us would wake up exhausted in the morning because we had stayed up until 1 o'clock the night before talking about, you know, all the world's problems. We both had an opinion, and it usually, you know, was the same. So that was exciting for me because not many people think like I think. But I really enjoyed the time that I got to spend with him, and I think that he really enriched my life. I do consider him, as Derek mentioned, to be much more akin to like the grandfather of the house. He wasn't just another resident here. I mean, he was a pillar, and I think he gave a lot of strength to the community as, you know, not just the little old man, but as a grandfather-like figure who was always there if you needed to talk to somebody. It didn't matter. He would listen to you, you know, on days on end about, you know, how things are going, what's going on, and he had a lot to give to all of us, and he left a lot with us, a lot of great things, and a lot of good memories. Thank you very much.
My name is Ron. I'm an alcoholic. I've only been here for a little over a month, so I didn't really get to spend a whole lot of time with Tom, but I'm in the same boat as Jeremy. Like, I used to ask him about church all the time, and he'd be like, "Oh, no." But finally, there was a comedian at our church a couple of weeks ago, and I got him to agree to go, but that was on like a Thursday, and by Sunday, he just wasn't feeling up to it. But man, we almost got him there with the comedian. We were this close. I was so excited too. I ran over, like, "Thomas is going to church with me." I was just like a little kid, but you know, every morning we both got up about the same time, so we'd meet in there for coffee, and I'd be like, "Morning, Thomas," and he'd go, "Is it?" "Is it a good morning?" I'm like, "Well, it could be. Let's have a cup of coffee and muddle through it." So, but yeah, I mean, he was an awesome guy. He brought a lot of knowledge. He was a lot of fun to go to AA meetings with because, like Dakota said, he never shared about what the topic was ever. He's not even close. He would just like start telling a story that was so far off topic, but everybody would sit and just listen, and everybody there just really appreciated him and loved him. He was quite a character.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah.
My name is Maurice, and I'm alcoholic, I guess. But Tom, man, he's awesome, man. When I came in here, I mean, all the guys were moving fast and moving around and stuff. Tom was just sitting in his chair watching TV. He was all cool and everything. I sat beside him, like, he's pretty cool. And he started talking about what was on TV, and then after a while, he started talking to me like about Miles Davis, how he used to be with all these different celebrities. I was like, wow, my eyes got like that big. And we started listening to music and Bob Miles and Herbie Hancock. And, I mean, this guy was super interesting. I'm like, there's nothing you hadn't done yet, you know. And I learned a lot from him, a lot. I mean, just sitting down talking to him. I sit there and rant and rage for like 45 minutes. You just sit there and listen. And he said, you just gotta stay in your own lane. You know, you're right, you know. But he really made a big difference in his community. He kind of evened everything out, made things a lot smoother, you know. With the older man, with that wisdom and knowledge that he had, he offered a lot to the community, and it made everybody feel more, you know, more at ease and down to earth, you know. But we're going to miss him so much. I miss him already. I mean, I walk past here and I still see him sitting in that chair. I do. I haven't sat in that chair since he's been gone. I still consider it his. And you know, I'm a big man about the front seat. I get upset if Tom is not in the front seat. I sat in there one time, you know, remember that? I was like, oh, I didn't move, you know? But I have a lot of respect for him, and it was a pleasure and an honor knowing this guy. And he will always play a big part in my life because of things he said and done in my life. And I'm sorry for the loss.
Thank you so much.
I'm okay. Eventually I'll get there.
Well, then I'm gonna turn it over to you.
No, I mean, you know, so Jen asked me last night if I was gonna write anything down. I was like, no. I was like, I think I'm just gonna feel the room, right?
Right.
Which
Then it will
is
come to you.
it's another way of saying I didn't want to deal with it, right? So you guys probably, you know, there's a lot of lives that my dad lived that you guys, of course, don't know, and a lot of it's on that board right there. So, you know, originally born in Illinois and then raised both Nicole and I out in California. And, you know, when he came out here, it was a really rough time in his life. And it's just funny how the world works. And I'm trying to even remember how, I mean, so my wife Jennifer, you guys probably met. She's amazing because she helped me through that transition, and I don't even remember how we came across Derek and Rebecca, but I have a feeling you had more to do with it than I did because you're better at this kind of stuff. Was it Karen? Okay, even better, you can see. But yeah, I mean, it's just funny how the world works. I think there must have been a reason, there, you know, whether it was fate or whatever, that he was able to come to you guys, and I'm glad that overall you guys are keeping this light and we're laughing, because I think it's exactly what my dad would want. He would want, you know, he wouldn't want us sitting here, you know, being sad or you know, severely mourning or anything like that. Like, he would want us to be making jokes, making us laugh and everything like that, because I think that's what he would do, you know. And I could go on for a long time about, you know, what he had done for me as a young kid and as a man, but you know, significant things he did for me. He taught me how to drive, and I'll never forget. I mean, this was a tiny little Honda Honda Accord that I learned how to drive on. It was standard, right? So, any of you guys driven stick, right? So I had no idea what I was doing, and I remember like the first time I got in the car, I stalled it out like 15 times, and he's like, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. And then like within minutes, we were like on the freeway, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it felt okay. Like, it felt fine. Like, you know, I mean, he always made me feel like, you know, he was there for me. And he encouraged me to go to the military. So out of high school, I joined the military. There was also some really bad places I was actually at after high school too. So there was a reason I went to the military. I was not in such good things at the time, right? But yeah, he still encouraged me. You know, I picked myself up, dust myself off, and I think me going into the Coast Guard had a lot to do with him. His dad was in the Air Force. He was an Air Force brat, so I think that was a special place for him. But you know, I mean, fast forwarding to now, I just couldn't thank Rebecca and Derek. I couldn't thank you guys enough for taking him in, because you guys really, whether or not you realize it, you guys were his second family. You know, you guys took a man that had been lost for a number of years and didn't really know where he was or where he belonged. He was in a very low place, and for him to be able to come to a house like this and kind of fit in and make new friends, although I know he was resisting at certain times. I mean, even up to the end, you know, he would put on a good face, and then, you know, he'd pull me aside and be like, man, you know, tell me something negative, right? So I had to rise above that, right? But no, I mean, you guys did. You gave him a second chance, and so the 4 years that he was out here, you know, those 4 years wouldn't be the happy times they were if it weren't for Rebecca and Derek and all of you guys. So I appreciate it, and I thank you guys for letting him in your lives. You know, because like I said, if you look at that poster, there's a lot of lives that he had lived even before the 4 years that you guys had known, more or less, if you guys had just met him. So, and I could say more, but I think at this point I'm gonna pass it off to somebody.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Nicole?
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. I think that it's true that despite his own resistance and my own, I think, resistance to like a community like this one that you have, he fell into it, and the love that you guys have in this house is amazing. I think that even me and him shared this, and we're a little bit resistant to tap. I think he was very resistant being helped. Thank you. I also told Ben that I was going to probably not say anything because I choked. But of course I am. But I think what you have here is very special. And I think that even he couldn't deny that that was true. And I think that the other thing that you reminded me of is that when he went to school, he went to UC Berkeley, and he got all these degrees and everything, and he was doing botany by the end of it. Do you remember that? So when I went to college, the thing that reminded me of I could share with you guys, when I went to college, Ben didn't go right away, and so I kind of was the one who was going to go and do the thing that he loved the most, which was being a student. I think that that was the greatest time in his life, was when he was at UC Berkeley and taking all these classes, and he told me, he was just like, whatever class it is, it doesn't matter what it is, wait until they kick you out. Because that's what I did. They let me stay, and then they finally had to kick me out, and it was great. I remember him telling me that, and I feel like that's what I did. I did as much as I possibly could in those 4 years, and ended up doing very different things. I did one thing for 10 years, now I'm doing another thing, so I feel like he instilled that in me, that you can do anything that you love to do. Thank you, guys. Somebody else got to say something, because now right, so you're choke on it like I knew I would.
So I'm Jennifer, Ben's wife. I'll try to get through this without crying too much.
It's impossible, don't even try.
So I've known Tom for a long time. I met him many, many years ago when I was dating Ben, and you know when you're super nervous meeting parents of a boyfriend for the first time, and so I remember being so nervous. And Tom just immediately had this way of making me feel like part of the family, just so warm, relaxed, just generous, funny, like his sense of humor, which I gave him a hard time about at times, because I was like, okay, time and a place for sense of humor, like Nicole says, resistance, so I'm a counselor, so you all know. And so I would say, all right, I love your sense of humor, but come on. He used it a lot. I'm sure you all know that, but he just always made me feel a part of the family, and I wish I could have had more time with him, and he, you know, has 2 wonderful grandchildren, and I wish they could have known him too. But I really thank Tom for raising an amazing son. Like, I feel like Ben's personality is Tom as far as his warmth, humor, generosity, the way he parents. I mean, he tells me stories about his dad and just how silly he was with Ben and Nicole, and that's how he is with our boys. And so I know that his mom's not here, but she's a different personality, just, you know, quieter, reserved, and Tom, I think, just brought the warmth to the room. So I can't thank Rebecca and Derek enough for everything you guys have done, making his last 2 years peaceful and wonderful, even if he, again, like Ben said, would tell us something different and leave that place. but we know deep down he loved it here, so thank you all for being part of his family.
I would even say this too. I mean, so those of you guys that spoke about him opening up to you guys, like, I think that does say something, because he would put up walls. And if you were to ask my mom and Nicole, you know, his life was filled with, sometimes if he would get in a situation where maybe somebody would push him to be more open, right, and really share emotions and feelings, that's where the humor would come out, right? But I mean, listening to you guys, I mean, I think if you were receiving, of course, humor is wonderful, right? But when you were having those deep conversations, like, that's amazing, because I think that's a harder place.
That's a big deal.
It's a harder place to get with him, and so it just shows how, you know, the environment that this house has, and the places where you guys are, everything is just, you were able to reach Tom in a place where he probably needed it most. Because at this point in his life, these last 4 years, I don't think he needed more walls. He needed people with open arms and being able to talk to him. So it's phenomenal.
Thank you.
May I say something? I'm Karen. I I'm Ben's mother-in-law. So you can all connect the dots. Tom and I share 2 grandchildren together, my daughter and son-in-law. And I'm going to start crying.
I know, it's
Yeah,
impossible.
Pass me up.
Yeah, exactly.
Preemptive.
No matter what.
I cry watching, right, that's very true, thank you. I cry watching Hallmark commercials.
They still have those?
My husband Warren and I would pick up Tom on several occasions to bring him to family events that we had. And I love talking to Tom about his past and learning about him and learning about when Ben was a little boy and the similarities, because now the grandchildren are old enough that you can see similarities and personalities have evolved. And so it was fun to talk to Tom about when Ben was a little boy and some of the things that he shared. And having Tom at our home, one of the best memories I have is watching Tom and Ben throw a ball in the pool to one another. And I thought, that's beautiful. You know, that's a connection I had hoped would develop again, and hoped that it would be evolved into more than it did. But you know, seeing Tom in the hospital, he would make this space that Nicole and Ben both do, you know. Why do you guys?
You know the expression.
It's on there.
And when he did that just, you know, a few days ago in the hospital, watching him do that, I thought, oh my God, this is incredible. Here the man is got to be in so much pain, and yet there's still the humor. That's such a big part of who he was and has passed down to a generation, and I think even his grandchildren. Genetics is a powerful thing. So you know, I will always remember watching them play ball in the pool and happier times. Explain how you knew to the group.
I'm her husband, so therefore, you can connect the dots. Tom was always just fun to have around because he's such a smart man with so many fabulous memories, so much knowledge, and a very funny person to be around. He would find humor in anything. It was a crutch for him as well as a tool. It was a benefit in some ways, and maybe not in some others, but he certainly was a funny man to be around. And he had a lot of great memories. His knowledge of music is incredible. I was in the business for a long time. We had a lot in common. So we just had a lot of great conversations when he was around. And he was a fun, bright, clever, funny person. I wish we'd been able to spend more time with him.
Does anybody else have anything they want to share?
I just want to say that I'm Christine. I'm the daughter-in-law of an alcoholic. That the relationship got strained, I think, in the family in the last few years. And all that I know of Tom is the stories that Nicole tells of when they were children and how joyful and creative and carefree he was in that. And I think being here for the last few days and seeing the community he had in this room was so incredibly healing for us. So we just want to say again, thank you so much for everything that you did for Thomas so that we can remember him as he was when we knew him.
Well, I can't think of one particular story because there were so many. And they were repeated often, so
We've heard all the
make
same
sure
stories.
not to forget. guys that would say, Tom, you already told me that. And so then he got to where he would premise it with, I probably told you this before. My favorite go-to story is, just don't set anything down for if you want to keep it, because you would set it down, go outside, have a cigarette, you'd have it picked up and put away before you got home. So you just couldn't. He would make sure everything ran perfect in the house. So he definitely was an icon as far as that goes. He would talk about Michael Jackson and Miles Davis and how big the football players really were back in the day, and sumo wrestlers, and oh my gosh, he had all kinds of stories. And the car stories because we were always together in the car mostly. So there'd be who knows what car that day that he would have experience with or know about, or used to talk about how little the cars were, and I think it was England, and how many people could they fit in there. They're coming out with their suitcases and 8 people, and story after story. But he's definitely going to be missed, and I just want to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to know him and sharing him with us, because he definitely left a mark.
Sure.
Band in that musical for several years. And I'm not sure if this must have been one, he either was at intermission, so he like came up to find us and then went back down, or it was when he didn't play in the band. And this is where the scene is. Everybody was like rocks. They like put it in the side. This is Ben and him on a bike ride. He would always come back just completely scraped up and awful. Because he would try to go as fast as Ben would go, and immediately just fall over and roll out like all the way. And then I know there's a look at that. And see, there's my face and his face being very similar. So funny. I think this is Lake Tahoe. And as we graduated high school, and I put these Cheech and Chong Billy Bobs on, which he thought was hilarious. He was like, "That's easily the coolest band. That's good." Dickerson would have done that. That's very good. I think this is Tom Dickderson. This is when Ben graduated from the Academy for the Coast Guard, so he went to Alaska after this for 5 years. This is and this is Ben's son Tyler. So those Ben's kids there. And then his wife's brother's kid is this little one here. He did like the kiddos. It was very sweet. And this is it. You can probably tell what year this is, because these were lightsabers. This is like Return
76 or something?
Yeah, exactly. It's probably like, you know what? I mean, it's probably the 80s, right? It's the Return of the Jedi era is what I would guess that probably is. And then my mother's British, and so we go to England every couple of years. Yeah, so this is in England, and you can tell this is the green one, all the green in the background. But we used to go on these hikes around the fields of Yorkshire, because we had an aunt and uncle that wanted to do that, so they drive us to Yorkshire, just hike around all the farmland. And I think what he's got here, this like funny thing, he wanted a picture next to it because it was like a water spigot with all these weird connectors on it, and he thought that was the coolest thing. He's like, take my picture next to the spigot. Sure, I'll take it next to the spigot. But he was a big photographer, and so this is his camera bag that he's got.
Wow.
Yeah, he took a lot of pictures. Like the pictures that he has in his room, there's like that gorilla that's going like that. Like he took that picture in San Francisco. And he developed them in the bathroom.
I had brought some artwork home. I had gotten these because I work part-time for Habitat, and I brought home this it's like Asian-looking paintings, and I was like, Tom, come look at my paintings, and he's like looking at it, he's like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Right.
And he was like,
right. Always the critic, always.
No, he was like, that whoever painted that, they didn't understand Japanese.
Did he tell you that he lived in Japan for a little bit? He told you? I'm sure he did.
He told me that it was spelt wrong, or it was backwards, or I don't remember what it was, but
Did he tell you this funny story about when the emperor came by and everyone had to bow their heads? He was the only one that didn't bow. Did he tell you that story? Oh yeah, that was on repeat in our house. I remember for a little while. But I guess when the emperor, and this is like the last emperor of Japan, I think, when he was very young, those that 3 years that he was there, and he came out. Everybody knew the emperor was gonna like wander, and you were just supposedly barely able to see him, but nobody was allowed to look. So everybody had to like bow down their heads, and nobody could actually see him. So everybody bowed down, and of course, he knew that the emperor was going by, but right before he went around the sea of heads bowed, and just the tail and turning the corner. Then he had to get down really quick because everybody else would have been like, "Who let that child pop his head up?" His mom was upset about that. I remember.
That's awesome. I like this picture.
Yes, isn't this funny? This is gonna be at Ben's house, I think, with the corn and the eating.
He's got his cutlery.
Oh yeah,
That's what that is.
right. Oh, and this is my mom, so that's my British mom right there. This is, I know, Thanksgiving at Ben's house. Typical pose. She's like, "I'm just trying to cook the thing," and he's like, "Hey." Typical. Yeah, this is sweet. I love this. This was here, right, with all the donuts and the. This is great.
I don't know.
I think it might have been.
Oh, it is here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sweet. I love the donuts. All spelled out. I know this. Yeah, this is Tahoe. I think is where we are here. Yeah, and this is Mount Tamalpais in San Anselmo. I'm fairly sure that's San Anselmo. I'm not sure where this is. That's Bend, but I'm not sure where that is, that beach that we have there. But that shirt, I remember. He wore that shirt. I mean,
how people, do you remember Ivan looks just like Ben?
Oh, isn't it amazing? I know. It's eerie. Well, I think it's a little bit like this, his younger Tyler. I think Tyler, like in that picture in there, looks so much like him.